It is insane. As I was going through this stuff, it became clear to me that I have been on the right path as it relates to the roommates and their movements that night. Not to mention everything that I've said about them not being there.
Well, I don't think so. No.
But I've been trying to narrow down the location. If I'm right about the hotel room, and I most certainly believe that I am,
I'll say.
I believe I may have been wrong about which hotel it was, but I believe I've narrowed it down now to where I believe the hotel room was that night. And I'm going to show you that in this video. But I'm not only going to show you that, I'm going to show you why I believe that it's quite possible Dylan's going to be named as an alternative perpetrator.
Tell me more, tell me more.
I mean, I am a bloodhound on a trail of blood like you can't even imagine. And everything is starting to present itself to me. It is insane. Insane. Nobody, to my knowledge, has ever been able to name a location that Dylan was at the night of the atrocity other than the King Road residence. To my knowledge, nobody out there has ever been able to do it with certainty.
Well, except for Moscow Police, the FBI, Idaho State Police, the prosecution team, the defense team, Bethany, anybody that Dylan was out with that night, so the people she was playing drinking games with, etc. So, sorry, Pav, you're not the only person that knows her whereabouts.
I'm about to show you with certainty a location that she was at that night. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, fact.
Gee, yes, the documents do appear to show that she was at a cash machine at Umpqua Bank. Now, what's unusual about that? Nothing. College kids go and get money from cash machines on weekends. So, this doesn't matter, okay? Dylan's not the one on trial. It means diddly squat.
This contains copy of grand jury subpoena and a letter of instruction with a footnote 1. That leads me to believe that Ann Taylor is actually going to name Dylan Mortensen as an alternative suspect in the case.
And to that I say, sure, Jan. Because they subpoenaed her whereabouts, like a video at a cash machine. Please explain how that means she's going to be called by Ann Taylor as an alternative suspect.
See, when you can think like that, then it opens the door. She couldn't have been there because she wouldn't be alive right now.
And I ask, are you sure? Because there's several instances where people got away from murderers who saw them. Ted Bundy came face to face with Nita Neary as she was coming up the stairs at the Chi Omega house, and he was running down to leave. He didn't stop and attack her. Also, if you read up on that, they tried to exclude her testimony because she had been drunk and only saw him for a few seconds. Kind of sounds like Dylan, doesn't it? Then you have Cara Amaro, who escaped from Richard Speck by rolling under a bed, even though he had seen her earlier and tied her up. Another example is Alana Zabel, who an intruder came in and beat her roommate near death and then walked in Alana's room, walked right past her bed, and left without harming her. So this does happen. It actually happens frequently. For whatever reason, the person either decides they're not going to attack that person now because they may be too tired, or they're worried they're going to get caught all of a sudden, or we don't always know why, because killers don't always tell you why.
So if she wasn't there, is there evidence that backs up that she wasn't there?
Well, Pav, there's plenty of evidence that backs up she was there in the court documents. This is from the prosecution. It says DM exited her room and began running towards BF's bedroom. Once DM arrived at BF's room, they locked the door. And this is from an order by Judge Hippler, and he cites the defendant. Okay, so Koberger and Taylor, saying that she went to BF's room. It says, defendant suggests neither exception applies because there's no evidence they were sufficiently startled by the events. He points out that DM claimed only to be confused, and despite stating that she was scared, she ran to BF's room instead of leaving the house or otherwise calling other friends or family for help. And this is from a defense document. So, Ann Taylor, Koberger, admitting again that Dylan was at the house. A BF and DM texted each other a handful of times, and then they were in the same bedroom. They were together with the ability to talk to each other. Despite her stated fear of leaving her room, she does so and joins BF downstairs. To get to BF's bedroom, DM passed the front door of the residence. BF was steps from the front door. Neither of them left the house. Did you catch that? That's Ann Taylor. Ann Taylor, who you adore and put on a pedestal, stating that neither Bethany or Dylan left the house. Also, don't forget about this. This from Josiah Roloff, talking about Dylan and Bethany's phones and everything he had access to. They know that they were home when the crime took place and that they didn't leave. They weren't at a hotel, okay? They had access to their phones. They know the GPS on their phones. They know exactly what they were doing when. And you talk about in your videos using common sense and putting on your thinking cap, yet you don't do that. If neither Dylan nor Bethany was home, that would be one of the very first things Anne would have challenged the probable cause affidavit on. But she didn't. She never said anything about either one of them not being there. She would have used that for the Franks hearing. She would have used that for suppression. The bushy eyebrows. If Dylan wasn't there, that would have been brought up when trying to suppress the bushy eyebrows in the motions in limine. Okay? Trying to get bushy eyebrows taken away. She knows Dylan was there. She knows Bethany was there. And as far as you saying that Anne's going to name Dylan as an alternate suspect, no, that's not happening. If she felt Dylan was an alternate suspect, she would have introduced her name at the motion in limine hearing. Because that was when that had to be introduced. And of course, now they've been given extra time, but she wouldn't be needing extra time and digging through files trying to find an alternate suspect if she felt Dylan was one. So you tell people to use their thinking caps, to use their common sense, yet you don't. And as always, if there's anything you'd like me to cover or discuss, let me know.